What a nice day to talk about video games. Oh man, I got the worst one. Привет, товарищ. Existential dread here, back with another first-person stealth horror shooter with heavy philosophical elements. But this time, we're going underground, because the bad ending has already happened. The planet nuked itself to death, and conveniently, the Russian metro tunnels were the only thing deep enough, both literally and philosophically, to host our little Soviet adventure. Developed by 4A and initially published by THQ in 2010, Metro became a cult hit, partially because of the game itself, and partially also because gamers got really angry at people refusing to acknowledge video games as art. And look at us now. This was based on a book, and it's not even one of those 30-page long ones with 25 font and illustrations to boot. No, this is a proper book. Your dad won't call you out for reading your funny graphic novels again. The game was in fact so good and well received for its time that Deep Silver deemed it unplayable 4 years later and remade it, complete with lens flares on the moon and tactical knife throwing. So how do they hold up today? What we have here are two different, perfectly viable ways of experiencing Metro 2033. Three if you count the book, which you should, but you won't. We respect our elders here, so in each section I'll be talking about the OG first, all the way through, and then Redux afterwards, while trying not to compare them at all. All of that will come later in its own section. I want you to experience them and make your own mind up individually, before I will also give you my subjective opinion towards the end. Let's get started.
So, I know we're doing a comparison, and it might not be fair, but we are dealing with a 15-year-old game that wasn't very polished when it came out, and also developed by Ukrainians. You have some pretty weird and janky resolution options if you're on widescreen or over 1080p. There's two solutions, very simple and easy, and they'll both be in the description of this video. You can change the config files yourself, or download this standalone config editor. The latter has some added options if you're interested, and they're all in English, no need to figure out what the weird delete code speak is. The other problem is that vanilla, unadulterated Metro makes you feel like you're walking around with horse blinders, but it is also kinda the point. The heavy claustrophobic feeling you get while playing with the intended FOV is part of the experience, and especially for the OG, the atmosphere really complements it. Another drawback is that the game wasn't intended for you to see, so changing the field of view to anything over 90 brings your head around 2 arm lengths behind your spine. Some people can't handle the low FOV though, so I thought I'd include it. It is a minor reduction in immersion, but playing it with a headache would be worse. Or who knows? It is Metro. It might heighten immersion. Also, don't touch the gamma slider. This game is meant to be dark. Not just because the tone is aggressively Eastern European. There's so many places where you literally cannot see anything. It's pitch black, and it's great. You're in the goddamn metro tunnels. It's supposed to be dark. Your flashlight, or even your lighter, is gonna do some heavy lifting. But sometimes you might not want that. They went all in on immersion to the point of having a difficulty option that removes all HUD elements, and it's definitely the intended way of playing the game a second or third time. I wouldn't recommend it for a first playthrough though, because some of these objects that you can interact with are pretty hard to find even with the HUD. Other things that boost immersion are part of your gear. This is a bleak, post-apocalyptic universe as we've established. People don't just live in the tunnels because they like the smell. Also, the tools that we got to keep or are able to be made here have this homey DIY bootleg feel to them. Some of the weapons that you get to use have their bullets on the outside, and you can see them in real time, getting less and less, so you can have a good idea about when you might want to reload before an ambush. The literal atmosphere was made unbreathable by the war, so if you're not deep enough in the tunnels for air pockets to still be clean enough, your gas mask is mandatory. They keep the air clean with pre-war filters that have been retrofitted over and over, so they're not exactly time efficient, but you can check their status on your watch watch. You set a timer right as you pop in a new one, so no telepathic watch here. It all makes sense. You always have to be careful, man. The mask gets dirty constantly when you have to use it, and if you get damaged enough, it might break before you do. Sometimes this is just the game trolling you, and you're essentially dead and waiting for your body to catch up. But sometimes it can also create some fantastic emergent gameplay moments. I'm getting sidetracked. I was talking immersion. The fog in the buildings with access to the outside, the fumes rising from the toxic waters, the glow of irradiated mushrooms and plants. It really makes you feel like you're in a metro tunnel. It's old at this point, so the technology just wasn't there yet, but this game looked amazing for its time, and it still does. I really have no complaints. Well, maybe just one. Nobody gets the kid models right, man. The bleak atmosphere is also complemented by the sound.
What the fuck?
Again, this is as close to perfectly immersive as you could get back in those days, and it still puts some modern games to shame. But there are some noises that aren't perfect. While the weapons look adorably broken and bootleg, some of their sounds are interesting. The stock sound effects like the wind and the creaking doors can get pretty annoying, but none are as egregious as the English voice acting.
Go away! Leave me alone! Mom told me to not talk to strangers!
It's horrendous.
The vodka didn't drown my fear of traveling onto Polis alone.
If you get in a fight, the enemy callouts can kill you by themselves.
We've got guys who are losing men! We've got guys who are losing men! We've got guys who are losing men! Say goodnight, guys! We've got injured!
Some can be pretty okay, but you can tell that it's like 3 guys that did all of the voice work, and they were paid in days out of prison or something. Please, for the love of God, play Russian dub. I beg you.
Метро — это наш дом. Это все, что у нас осталось. Да, жизнь тут не сахар. Но ты всегда знаешь, что на твоей станции каждый человек тебе как родной.
It unfortunately has the problem that most of the background stuff isn't subtitled properly, but trust me, that's leagues better than the alternative. Yes. Modern gaming. Wait, what's that? Metro 2034? But that happens after this. Who wrote this? Jokes aside, I know some people like talking shit about Redux, but at least I can change the resolution to modern. Yeah, we made it better. Definitive, actually. I know it's only been 4 years, but you'll like it so much you won't even want to play the original anymore. We're even gonna remove it from the store so you don't get confused. We got you, fam, don't worry. God, I really fucking hope Stop Killing Games goes through, man. So, the config file does work, but then it doesn't hide your start menu. So you go here, you download the special K file, you rename it, you start the game, don't panic, we're getting there. This will create an ini file, and then you go into that and change your FOV and res and whatever. And the gamma slider doesn't work anymore. Here's hoping it's good by default. And I also got some weird glitching and flashing in some shops early, but that kinda just went away later. I really am trying to keep an open mind here, and luckily, I don't have to for too long. The Redux version also looks great, just in a different way. First of all, it's way less dark. It might be the gamma slider thing, but I've seen other people play it, and I don't think so. Even if you're in pitch darkness, you can still see your arm and gun as if you had lights in your eyes. In the original, you had moments where all you could see was the radiation from your scope, slowly killing you. But in this, they compensate with better assets and more atmospheric lighting, coming from radiating plants and rivers, some loose lamps here and there, and some industrial lights. Nothing that doesn't fit in or is out of place, really. Some of these places look gorgeous. It's a different kind of beauty, maybe not exactly something that you want from your depressing post-nuclear underground adventure, but it is an odyssey. It is supposed to have some fantasy-looking places. This is as close as you'll get to something like that in Russia. So the atmosphere and look are very different, and so are some of your tools. You still have everything from the OG, your battery charger, your watch telling you how much time you have left on your filters, as well as your PC clock. Creepy bastards. All that grime you had on your mask, you can just wipe it off now. The weapons still look the part, and they honestly sound better this time around. Most of the sounds hold up just as well as in the original. And some of the sounds that didn't are back. A big difference is that you get way more music in this. There's a fight theme. There's you're close to getting spotted theme, and that can get ridiculous sometimes. Even some events that they want to make you feel stuff really have some loud music stings attached.
Артём! Who the fuck is...
It's way louder than the original, feels way more like an action game. But since we're on sounds, we obviously have to address the elephant in the room. The English dub, well, Artyom is way better.
Khan led me into Cursed Station. The name was no accident. Its people were locked in an endless war for survival.
The callouts in the fights are way less infuriatingly annoying. But unfortunately, a lot of the voiceover wasn't re-recorded for this. The characters that were already fine, like Khan and Miller, are still fine. But then you have some of the background stuff that just pulls you out,
Okay,
man.
I'll draw that. Daddy, when is Mom going to come back?
And the kids. I swear, I had to take a break for a few hours after the child mission. I got a literal headache.
You told me you'd take me to...
Honestly, stick to the Russian voiceover. It has the no subtitles for most background stuff problems like the OG does, but the cultural barrier will at least heighten immersion instead of ruining it.
Тут никого. Может, это...
Что за блокпост? Который у Китай города?
Да нет же, у Рижской который. Ну, между Рижской и проспектом.
Look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I wanted to rip this game apart when I finished it during my replay the first time. Pop that sucker in on Ranger Easy to begin with, cause I ain't bitch made. Or, you know, to some, maybe I am. You die in this. A lot. And obviously, being the true gamer that I am, I immediately identified the problem. Game sucks, it's not my fault. Why do all the enemies have aimbot and wallhack? Why can't they hear me from across the room when I stepped on a grain of dust? I'm green. Why are you coming closer? Stop! Stop! But then I had a nice angry sleep and woke up with renewed hindsight. It was probably just the two major game-breaking bugs I had in the last two missions. Metro 2033 2010 on Ranger difficulty is a hard game. A very hard game. But that's what we're here for, right? I mean, if we're going for realism, war is hell. You don't just get to sit in a corner and wait for your health to regenerate. You go to the permanent infirmary with both your legs gone, or you die. In this, you mostly just die, though. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, and the purists already left to write an angry comment. No, I like original Metro's gameplay. The stealth is organic and tense. You just walk around hoping not to be seen. There's no stealth mode. There's the light detector on your watch, and heavy or light darkness does make a difference. But even if they can't see you, the enemies can still smell the piss running down your Adidas tracksuit if they're close enough. Walking around in pitch darkness, not seeing anything, not turning on your flashlight because it's gonna alert every enemy for the next 4 missions, just to step on some strategically placed glass shards? That's visceral, man. That's tense. Your ears perk up like a dog's. Some laughter from this side, some coughing from the other. There's a stream of water underneath. Maybe a tunnel. Grandpa is telling a story by the campfire. When he's done, they'll all be asleep or dead. You need your hearing way more than your eyes in this, or else you'll get caught. And you die instantly. Your brain already knows you're dead by the time you press W, but you don't get to say it out loud because you need that motor function to press the load checkpoint button. I was doing the Kill All the War Criminals achievement on front lines with a sniper rifle with fluorescent lights on. I'll never lose that vivid image. The screen is entirely black, as I'm hiding from the Reds behind their rail car, the only visual feedback being the glowing numbers on my scope and watch. Then I patiently waited for a guy to stop moving so I could place my permanent marker crosshair on his head. Bang. Dead. Hide behind the wall, Artyom. Reload. Blow some air into the tire. There is frustration to be had, for sure. The always classic, one guy spots you, so everyone just knows where you are now forever. The aimbot is annoying. You get into a situation where they know your location, so even going out of cover for a second to see where they are comes with a coin flip's chance of getting your brains blown out. It is a bit inconsistent how people see you sometimes. You never know if it's something you stepped on, or they just ambiently caught you in their cone of vision. Who knows? Just reload and try again. It's difficult. You need patience. Another game-breaking bug I had was with the wall on the library mission. You're supposed to go through it, but I just didn't fit, no matter how much I tried glitching myself through, so I just assumed it wasn't the way to go, or had an inkling in the back of my head that the FOV fix might be fucking with me. But no, it's a common complaint. You obviously have to present your ass to the librarian, and he might just help you through. But again, to reiterate, the pros outweigh the cons, and there's also way more to it. For one, this is probably one of the best implementations of the morality system. You're not you. This is not an RPG. You're guiding Artyom on his adventure. Artyom is a naive, sheltered kid living his station for the first time ever. He has no experience, no concept of nuanced right and wrong. You get your moral points by doing stuff that is not signposted and sometimes unintuitive and unexpected. You give a beggar the bullet? That's a good deed, but you deny this kid a job for payment? Well, that's just a tight economy, Johnny, so you don't lose any points for that. You even get an achievement for it. Listen to an old man tell a tale as old as nuclear winter, get some moral points, but leave as your stepdad as being sappy and cringe. That's not very nice now, is it? They're all indicated by this flashing light, accompanied by some sounds. You'll get to associate them with their individual moral impact as you play, and getting enough of these points over the course of the game will allow you to experience the good ending. It's nuanced. It's not as simple as to kill or to not. Sometimes, if it's hostile, you kill it, and the game doesn't judge you for it. The number you need is also not exactly lenient. You're highly likely to see the bad ending on your first playthrough, and you need to do a lot of exploration to unlock the other one. This plays into the survival elements of the game and why Ranger Hardcore is the optimal way to experience OG Metro. Looking up those moral points throughout an open map when you can't check how many filters you have left is an experience. Every time you hear Artyom gasping for air and you press that filter button, not knowing whether you'll find anything in his pocket, really keeps you on your toes. It's always a trade-off with your supplies. There's an entrance in that wall, but do I have the air to check it out? Sneaking past these guards is risky, but do I have enough bullets to deal with them? One of Metro's great original concepts is the military-grade ammo. You find these scattered around the maps and on bodies, and they're not the bootleg junk you get from Pavel at the market. These bad boys pack a punch, and that's valuable. how valuable? This is what they use as currency in this universe. Killing a monster or your fellow man is worth its weight on your soul in gold. Literally. But again, these are proper bullets, so you can just load them in your machine gun and go to town. They even do more damage, but do you want to? Maybe sometimes you'll have to. You're constantly on the edge, but you're also blindfolded. The classic jank is present here as well though. If you die and reload from the death screen, there's a chance you don't get your filters and ammo back. Ammo is fine because you don't really need it unless you're fighting monsters. But reloading at the halfway point with no filters is a dead end. Luckily, you can just reload from the normal menu and that fixes the issue. And sometimes you're gonna need it. This is post-nuclear hell, so there's monsters running around, from Nosalises to demons and other horrors. These are not optional. You can hide from the demons and you can stare a librarian in the face, but the Nosalises will bite your face off if you hesitate. This ain't a motherfucking game. Wait. So I talked a lot about OG. How does Redux hold up? As always, it's complicated. One of the major reasons for the remake were problems that people had with the gameplay, so this was overhauled completely. You still have the morality system, exactly as it was, fully immersive. You still get your filters and your watch, your headlight and your compass, that's all fine. Where it changes is with the combat. The weapons feel way better to use. They all sound like they should for the most part, while still appearing in all their bootleg glory. But it all feels more dumbed down, more Call of Duty. You get a clear cone of sight from enemies because it's represented by their headlight most of the time. You can do silly things like just stray from side to side, dodging the cones as they collide with the wall.
Well, it was just my imagination after all.
And if you do get spotted, you can just take a chill pill against the wall and wait for things to blow over. You get a karate chop, non-lethal takedown. You kill people with the knife throw, even if it lands between their toes. This really is just Call of Duty. Did Activision have a hand in this? Artyom is supposed to be this sheltered daddy's boy out of his depth. Now he's just CQCing people and throwing knives like a pro. He doesn't even kill anyone in the book. What's happening? It's not all bad though. While the human combat and stealth is more polished and straightforward, thus also watering down the atmosphere, they did improve on the monster combat. They all feel way more threatening. They're way faster for one, way more aggressive, while still presenting some animal-like qualities. My personal favorites are the lurkers. In the original, they were just smaller Nosalises, but in this, they're rat bastards. They crawl around really quickly, and the second you shove your light in their face, they run in a hole. And then, when you're not paying attention, they jump in for a bite and then run away. Excellent AI implementation for them, and the levels where they do show up are highlights of Redux. The game does feel more jumpy in general, while also somehow being way less tense. This is a game where it's way easier for me to just recommend survival hardcore off the bat. You do run into some ammo issues way sooner because of the ammo cap, and you can buy way less here because you find less military grade ammo around on survival, but you can always just crawl up to a guy and sing him a lullaby. You get a clear indicator of the time you have left on your filters, the radiation areas are way less oppressive. It feels way more fluid and polished to play, but it loses some of that jank, that heightened immersion in the original. Now, I did promise you that I'd validate someone's opinion. Which is the ultimate way of experiencing the game, and which do we throw to the dogs? And the answer is... I don't know. Yeah, call me a pussy fence sitter. I played both of these games when they were brand new and enjoyed them both. I remember having a really hard time and getting frustrated at playing the original. Getting shot through a mouse hole over and over and cringing at the English dub because they went lazy with the subtitles. But that pit that you get in your stomach when you're so close to reaching a checkpoint just to hear that. You don't get that in Redux, even on no HUD. I also remember forgetting the gameplay of Redux. It is way more dull, despite it being more polished, but it still does a good job delivering the story that will always be the memorable part of Metro. I know some more casual players prefer Redux because it's a more gamey video game. Louder, more music, more forced feelings, while the purists assign every little glitch and lack of polish of the original to heightened immersion, which, to be fair, is at least partially true. If pressed, though, I would agree that I ended up liking the original just a bit more than Redux after replaying them. Gameplay will always trump story in a video game, and unlike something like Spec Ops: The Line, the generic gameplay in Redux doesn't really enhance the goal they had with the story, and it might actually detract from it. Not to mention how far they went tonally from the book. Original Metro 2033 is a masterclass in immersion and atmosphere. You do die over and over again on Ranger, but if you could just run through it mindlessly, that would deflate everything it does so well. All of this makes the original not being listed to buy anywhere anymore very disappointing, and a good reason for everyone, including people that prefer Redux, to be angry. But this is just a slight tilt of the scale. They're both great ways of experiencing Metro in a video game form, and basic bitch tribalism like this type of discussion shouldn't keep you from trying either, or both. Our story starts in medias res with our boy Artyom climbing a very safe and stable ladder. This is symbolic of, I don't know, Chinese manufacturing? You get tutorialized, even though you find out later that this adventure, even with this particular character, has been going on for a while now, and you've proven yourself many times.
You missed.
Well, not in jumping, okay? But much like the story, I'm getting ahead of myself. Our character is Artyom, daddy's boy, lazing around at exhibition. He hears the call of adventure one day when his stepfather's friend, Hunter, arrives at the northernmost station to investigate some disturbances relating to a new threat. As safe as the end of the line is supposed to be in this universe, it has been getting quite a bit of trouble lately. Your meeting is cut short when another incident happens and the Nosalis monsters start pouring in through the vents. So, after solving the problem, Hunter leaves you with an important task should he fail to do it himself, fails,
Hunter did not return.
and then Artyom is presented with the opportunity to hit his wishes. I like to think of Metro 2033 as a sort of weird Soviet odyssey following the hero's journey. We have our normalcy, you know, kinda, your mentor, your call to adventure, etc, etc. From here, while the destination is clear, and despite the game being linear, the story itself doesn't really take a linear path. It's more of an anthology of stories from the Metro universe that just happen to unfold along the way. You get a very good look at how the people have made these tunnels their home since the nuclear war. You see their struggles and how they cope with them. While Exhibition was relatively cheery and carefree aside from the recent problems, and you can see people telling stories around the campfires and in bars, the further you get into Metro, the more inevitability becomes apparent. Some of the stations on the frontier, either next to the outside or just at the edges, are struggling immensely. Places like the aptly named Curse Station are on their last legs, while other places that are next in line have resorted to drastic forms of totalitarian leadership. You go from nightmarish hellhole to nightmarish hellhole. From bandit nests to communist-occupied stations to literal war zones between Nazis and the Reds. Even after nuclear war and with humanity on its last legs, we're still at each other's throats. This is where I'd start listing off the missions one by one with a synopsis attached, but I won't. Metro's story is strong, not necessarily because of the things that happen, but because of the world building that you get to experience. There's 7 chapters with 31 named stories in the original Metro, and a whopping 6 progress the main plot thread. You're here for the adventure, you're here for the odyssey. You're here for a semblance of how surviving life would fare after a nuclear wizard apocalypse. You think Dimitri read Broadside Picnic? There's philosophical questions to be had along the way, like Alex calling the Dark Ones the next step in evolution, or Homo Novus if you're pretentious. Or how even on the borderline of human extinction, it's still just communism with these fuckers. But all of that is left to interpretation. The game doesn't answer any questions, it just asks them, and it's your imagination's job to fill in the shapes. If I were to pick a couple to talk about as flavor, it would have to be Cursed and Frontlines. These aren't random picks, and while good on their own, they also act as polar opposites of each other and the morality aspects of the Metro universe. In Cursed, you follow Khan, one of the more memorable characters from the game. A hippie priest-wizard hybrid. He likes talking about flower power and being open-minded, while also extremely high on drugs. I mean, look at him. You reach the Cursed station to see, for the first time, the stark contrast between a settlement that is doing fine, a settlement that is starting to have problems, and a truly fucked station on its last legs. It acts as a major tone shift throughout the story, but as you help them with their problems, it also tells a tale about how strangers can turn a catastrophic situation into hope. On the complete opposite end, Frontlines is about the war between literal Nazis and communists. It's a very nuanced look into how many war crimes a faction can commit before it becomes a cliché. But seriously, what it does show is how even in the darkest of times, with humanity fighting a hopeless fight against nature and evolution, some people will still do unspeakable things for their misguided ideology, and that regardless of how bad it gets, it can always get worse. And that's all you get. Go play the game. It's like 10 hours long if you use your money properly. Or stick around, because I like having existential dread after finishing a game like this, so I will talk about the endings and some nuances regarding the book. If you're not already throwing your wallet at the screen, then you have been warned, and I will see you around here for some closing lines. Our purpose from the beginning, should you have gotten sidetracked, was to deal with the Dark One's threat, but throughout the game, and especially if you've been collecting that moral candy, then you'll be getting some not-so-subtle hints about the nature of these Dark Ones. For one, they're the only things in this universe to have an American accent.
Even children hated by their parents try to love and understand them.
So how bad can they be? You don't really find the help you need in Prim, so Miller has a better idea. Climb this tower and nuke the bastards again. So you get a reinforcement into this game's tendency to attack your primal fears, and you get to the top just in time to get some second-hand drug-induced hallucinations from Khan.
You reap what you sow. To break this vicious circle, one must do more than just act without any thought or doubt.
You get saved by the Force Ghost of your mentor, just to tie up that hero's journey knot nice and tidy. You kill it, since it's hostile, and then if you got enough moral points during your playthrough, you're given the ultimate choice. Go forward with the plan of nuking right on top of your home settlement, or don't. I've mentioned how much I like the morality system of this game, but I also love its outcome. Even if you do end up getting most or all of the moral points, you still get the choice. You're not just outright locked to the good ending. But if you fail to do so, you don't get a choice at all. It's a very interesting and unique way of doing things, especially for that time. Very refreshing after the usual angel-devil outcomes. The endings themselves are also not very straightforward, and a lot is left to the imagination. If you shoot the guiding laser, you get confirmation that the Dark Ones wanted peace all along. Their psychic powers, being that weird and alien, weren't well received by most of humanity, so we did what we do best. React to confusion with violence. You get some hints at what these creatures did along the way to try to earn our trust. It was all just a huge misunderstanding. Now, you don't really get to see the future where they all live in peace and harmony, so it could just be that one fucker saying whatever it is that will stop you from nuking them to hell. Maybe he wakes up and kills you as you reflect on your good boy behavior. Who knows? That one's up to you. But the bigger twist is that this is not the canon ending. It's amazing enough that a Ukrainian developer added a kinda good ending to a post-nuclear humanity's evil story happening in Russia and written by a Russian. That's like a Eastern European cultural bingo right there. But the book ends with the bad ending, where you let the missiles go and you get to reflect on your bad boy behavior while internalizing your mentor's words of wisdom.
If it's hostile, you kill it.
A wise man once said, "He who leads a war for the love of his fellow man will defeat his enemies."
Though it is very casual for what it is, when I played this the first time, I was even confused at what was happening. Did we win? Are we the baddies? In the book, it's a bit more cut and dry. Artyom doesn't take the reveal of the Dark One's nature too well.
He won't wake up! I think he's dead! He's dead, isn't he? How? You'll take me? I hate to leave Uncle here. Uncle is really strong. You don't look as strong as Uncle. I'll have to help you, or we'll both get eaten. There! I'm not allowed to touch it, but there's ammo in that locker. I have a gun too. It's in a safe place till I'm old enough to shoot. But you can borrow it when your gun wears out. There's one more! Hey, look out! There's a hole! Mom says if the kids go too far into the tunnels, the mutants catch them and eat... Wow! What's that up there? Mommy! That's my mom! Let's go! She's looking for me! Let me go!
Poor Serozha. Thank you for saving my son.
Obviously, as per usual, I'll mention some related media. The book is something you have to experience yourself. If you like the stories the game has to tell, then you'll love the book too, because it's just way more of them. The main plot thread of the game follows it pretty tightly, but some of the moral quandaries that Artyom has to fight with, his internal monologues that are only present in the game through the mission intro sequences, and obviously the emotional impact of the ending are a very different way of absorbing this universe. Highly recommended. Metro is excellent, no matter which version you go for. If you want to play a pretty brain-dead and straightforward game with some fun shooting, some comedic stealth, but some great set pieces and a story that truly makes you think about the state of the world nowadays, then go with Redux. But if you like playing from inside a shoebox and dying a lot, the original has some of the best immersion mechanics and atmosphere that you can still get in video games, and the combat will truly keep you on the edge, constantly. It really is the better way to go if you're looking to play a difficult video game. It does come with the downside of being thoroughly replaced by the remake, but that also makes it abandonware, and abandonware is fair plunder, me hearties. Next time, we're gonna steer away from existential nightmares for a bit and dabble into some organized crime instead. And with that, I'll see you next time.
Cosmos, quick!
Good morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is provided for